News Radio 840 WHAS, coming up on today's Louisville Real Estate Show. What happens if the HOA you're buying into is already being sued? Can a seller get in trouble for hiding flood problems? Why did a lender panic after a buyer purchased a brand new truck just days before closing? And are no closing cost mortgages actually real or just creative math? Hi, everybody. Bob Sokoler, owner of the Sokoler team at simpler.realestate. Thank you for being with us. We've got a great show and even better, great people to answer your questions. Here with us is a guy who's filling in for Randy Rocky. Randy's off again this week. He'll be back. Josh Marlin did a great job on the last show. We asked him back. You can reach Josh at Swan Financial because buying a home is exciting. Understanding the mortgage process is sometimes not so much. But Josh and the folks over at Swan, they make it easy and simple and understandable, and they shop the rate. Give Josh a call on his phone, 270-799-3142. Also here, Lee Harris. She is one of the head honchos over at Limestone Title and Escrow. You know, the best closings are the ones that feel easy because someone great is handling the details behind the scenes. That person? Lee Harris at Limestone Title. You can get to her, and this is her cell phone, if you'd like to get more information about closings or a variety of other real estate related and other things, including wills. You can reach Lee at 502-649-7964. And if you are thinking of selling your home now or in the future, I'd love to help you. No home too big, no home too small. Louisville, surrounding counties, southern Indiana, and you can call me. It's free for me to come out to talk to you and just discuss what the process is. I'll take as much time as you want, and we'll review. We'll move forward if you want. If not, no problem. No harm, no foul, as they say. If you'd like to get in contact with me, and again, I offer that guarantee program where if I can't sell it within 59 days, I'll offer to buy it. Reach me at 502-376-5483. That's 376-LIVE. Or go to bobsellslouisville.com and fill out the form, hit submit. And for a free no obligation analysis of what your home is worth, you can go to wesellouisville.com. That's wesellouisville.com. Fill out the form and hit submit. All right, let us start with Lee Harris at Limestone Title and Escrow with our questions. And we get a lot of questions, and hopefully we've got the answers for them. Jake emailed us after discovering the homeowner association for the condo he wants to buy is already in a lawsuit with the builder over construction defects. Yeah, there's a real red flag there, right? Mm-hmm. He's wondering if an HOA is involved in active litigation, can that affect financing, insurance, or even buyer's ability to close? And Josh, we're going to ask you about that as well, but let's start with Lee.
Yes, it possibly can. One of the questions that is on the seller disclosure form that the seller fills out and the condo cert is there any kind of litigation pending? And the reason being is that, that could affect the insurance, the master insurance, for example. If they have a big hit and they have to pay out, the rates might go up, which means your condo fee could go up. And, if they have major construction defects, that's something you also want to know about because that could affect your individual condo. Are you going to have to pay for repairs and things like that? As long as they have enough in reserve, Josh can speak to this, but I think as long as they have insurance and enough in reserve, you should still be able to close. It's just that certainly is, as Bob said, a red flag on what's wrong with this condo that I'm about to buy.
Yeah. Josh, thoughts on that?
Yeah, if they've got enough reserves in their insurance and their bank account and that they can still close. If it's a defect, though, that would raise some questions on doing a home inspection or an appraisal. If an appraisal finds those defects, they have to be repaired before we can close. So that could cause delays or even if the owner of the condo does not want to pay to make those repairs because they're in litigation with the builder, then, that would basically kill the deal.
I think the red flags are up. I would reconsider. It may be a great condo, great group, place to live, but be very concerned about that. A reminder, by the way, if you hear something interesting, you say, I wish I could listen a little more closer to that answer. Easy for you. Go to LouisvilleAnswers.com. LouisvilleAnswers.com. It's a redirect to our YouTube webpage where we've got this show and others waiting for you to listen to it and see it, which is a bonus. And remember, if you'd like to see some of the interviews we've done with sellers at the closing table, because that's the things I do normally during the weekday, you can go to LouisvilleSellersTalk.com, LouisvilleSellersTalk.com. Josh, over to you now for another question. This one comes in from a listener, didn't identify the name, but emailed us that after getting a pre-approval online in less than 5 minutes, only to have the seller rejected as not strong enough. Now, we had something similar to this. So what makes one mortgage of pre-approval stronger than another? It's not a week ago or so, we had a question about 4 minutes pre-approval. Yeah, that's too quick. But what actually makes a strong pre-approval to a seller and to a seller's agent?
Well, it depends on the verbiage of the pre-approval letter, but if you've got verbiage in there that says that you have reviewed, asset and income documents, that makes it a stronger pre-approval versus a pre-qualification. So with that kind of verbiage in there, it lets the listing agent and the seller know that the loan officer has reviewed actual documentation and, has a legitimate pre-approval. If you've got somebody that got a pre-approval online in 3 minutes, that would raise a red flag with me, but also reputation. I know some real estate agents that I partner with that, they've told me in the past, hey, there are several mortgage companies that I would never accept a pre-approval before because we've been burnt 2 or 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
So I think reputation can play a big part in that as well.
Yeah, there are a couple of mortgage companies out there that I would not work with, or I would suggest not working with. We won't go into those, but Swan is one that I would. So that's good news for you guys, right?
Yes, it is.
A reminder, we have a free moving truck. We just reskinned it. The outside looks brand new. And it's for our clients, basically. If you want to think about moving and using us, be prepared to be able to use our free moving truck. It's about 14, 15 feet, automatic, and it drives well. And it could be booked already, but we try to get you slated in. You can give me a call to get more information, 376-5483. Lee Harris, Limestone Title. Owen emailed us after arriving for the final walkthrough and realizing the seller agreed upon repairs. Looked rushed, incomplete, the repairs did, and possibly worse than before. So Owen is wondering, I've been there, I see it. What legal options do buyers have if promised repairs are not properly completed before closing? And I'll add something parenthetically. Also, no receipts that are available to review those repairs as well. Lee?
Right. Yes. So that's the purpose of the walkthrough, is to verify, number one, that all the items are there that are supposed to be there, like the light fixtures, etc., and also to see if the repairs have been done. The contract calls for those repairs to be done in a quote-unquote workmanlike manner prior to closing. So if you get there and you're like, wait a minute, these were done poorly, or these weren't done at all, or like even worse, it's not as good as it was before they repaired it, then you certainly have some options. One is to postpone the closing and give yourself time to get some remedies done. For example, you could get some repair vendors out there, give you an estimate, find out how much it's going to be to repair these things in a workmanlike manner, and that amount can be put on the closing disclosure, and those checks can be paid directly to the vendor. So let's say it was a plumbing issue. You could say the plumber's bill is $500. That bill could be paid directly to the plumber so that it will be fixed post-closing. You can also ask the seller to escrow the amount that you're going to need to repair those things after closing, if the lender is okay with you doing that. And then you'll have the money on escrow. the repair people can come out and get it done, and then the money will be there to pay for it. If there's extra, it would go back to the seller. But certainly don't just close with the knowledge that there's these issues out there and think, well, after closing, I'll take care of it, because a lot of your remedies under the law do close with the closing.
And we should point out, don't plan on having the repairs made the day before or the day of. Give yourself pad and the trade who's working on them. And Lee, will all closing attorneys accept escrow money to hold within their attorney bank account, or is this hit and miss?
I think it's probably on a case by case basis.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Got
Some people don't like to do that.
Right. That's why I bring that up. So just be aware that that is a caveat to being able to do that last part about having escrow money held back. We're going to take a break, sticking with us, and we thank them for being here. We've got in for Randy Rocky, Josh Marlin, who's doing a great job over at Swan Financial. They do a great job of making mortgages easy to understand. And that's important in this day and age. You can reach Josh, 270-799-3142. Also staying with us, Lee Harris, Limestone Title and Escrow. You know, the calm behind a successful closing day is spelled Leeharris and her team. Lee Harris at Limestone Title and Escrow, 502.
I love that.
You like that, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
502-649-7964. That's their cell phone, 649-7964. And if you're thinking about selling your home, I would love to help you. No home too big or small. I work in southern Indiana, surrounding areas, Louisville, surrounding counties. Call me on my cell phone, and free, no obligation. I'll come out. We'll talk. 376-5483. That's 376 Live, or go to bobsellslouisville.com. Click on the page and hit submit. I'll be back in contact with you. And we're back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS. News Radio 840 WHAS, Bob Sokoler, Louisville Real Estate Show, here with you till the top of the hour. Thank you so much for sticking with us. And speaking of sticking with us, continuing with us, in for Randy Rocky, who's got the day off from Swan Financial, is Josh Marlin, who's doing a great job. They do a great job of getting your loans to your homes. Helping buyers move forward with confidence. That is one of the slogans of Swan Financial. You can reach Josh at 270-799-3142. That's 3142. Also here, Lee Harris, Limestone Title and Escrow. They're professional closings with a personal touch. Lee Harris and everyone over at Limestone Title and Escrow. You can reach Lee on her cell phone, 502-649-7964. And if you're thinking of selling your home now or in the future, I'd love to help you. No home too big or too small. Call me, free, no obligation for me to come out, talk. We'll figure out the path. 502-376-5483 or 376 Live, or go to bobsellslouisville.com. All right, we've got 7 ways to make your home safer for both kids and pets, and feel free to jump in, Chuck and Brad. Secure the furniture to the walls. You know, kids climb, pets jump. Heavy furniture can tip over far easier than most people realize. Secure it. Hide dangerous cords and outlets. Look, electrical cords are like toys to both toddlers and pets. Chewing, pulling, playing with cords can cause burn, shocks, and strangulation hazards. Lock up chemicals and medications. Oh, this one goes without saying. Cleaning products, laundry pods, right? Medications, those laundry pods or the dishwasher pods, they look so nice, so cute. Mm-hmm. Now the kids want to play with it. Medications, fertilizers, even essential oils can be extremely dangerous. Check plants for toxicity. You know, there are a surprising number of common houseplants that are toxic to dogs, cats, or small children. Create a safe stairway and slippery areas. One of the things you got to worry about with stairs, falls, most common household injuries. I know my wife, LaDonna, knows that from tripping on one of our staircases. And then keep small objects off the floor. Kids, pets explore with their mouths. Not good. Finally, make emergency exit and alarms a priority. Many families install smoke detectors but forget to test them, so make sure they got working smoke detectors. Back to our questions. Let's go over to Josh over at Swan. Brianna emailed us after checking her score on a free credit app. I'm not sure how much those are worth, Josh. You got to give up something to get the free for the most part. And discovering her lender score was nearly 40 points lower. So she's wondering, why are mortgage credit scores often completely different from the scores buyers will see online. What is going on with this, Josh? This is a crazy question.
Yeah. So with that, whenever a mortgage lender pulls their credit, we use the FICO scoring model, the Fair Isaac Corporation scoring model. Whenever somebody uses those free online or app credit pulls like Credit Karma and things like that, they use what's called the Vantage scoring model. And the biggest difference in those two is FICO goes up to 850, whereas Vantage goes up to 950. So that's where you see that discrepancy in they get that higher score when they check it online versus if they went to freecreditreport.com or they went to Experian.com to pull their FICO score.
I remember the commercials for free credit score. I don't see them anymore. So do you stay away from all those completely? Are there any legitimate, if someone wants, I want to check my credit score, anywhere we should go for a quick instant pull?
They could go to Experian, they could go to Equifax, they could go to TransUnion, they could go to any one of the three bureaus to pull it. But they want to make sure that they're pulling their FICO score.
Okay, and those don't pull the credit down by going there, and they don't charge money, or they do charge money?
You're allowed it's either one or two free credit reports a year where you don't have to pay for it. But you do take a hit on your credit when you pull it. So it's just like if a creditor pulled it, for a credit card or for a car loan or for a mortgage pull.
Okay. All right. And listen, when you decide to do something, whether it's getting a loan, using a mortgage company or a closing attorney or a real estate agent, I'm a big fan of pulling the reviews and Amazon's got that nailed. I mean, for the most part, they say they're verified reviews. I always check the review on something I'm going to buy. Too many negative reviews, I'm going somewhere else. We invite for you to check out our reviews. We think we've made it pretty simple, and we're pretty proud of the reviews we've got. Easy to do. LouisvilleZillow.com or LouisvilleGoogle.com are where our reviews were. So they're on the actual websites for Zillow and Google, but we made it easy. LouisvilleZillow or LouisvilleGoogle.com. Lee Harris Limestone Title. Lee, Leah, emailed us after discovering her new home sits in a flood zone, and that was never discussed during the purchase process. This is a real problem. Can a seller be held responsible for failing to disclose flood risks or flooding problems? And before you answer that, Lee, let me just point something out. Our Sokoler team, and I'm sure there are other agents who do this as well, when we take a listing, we check to make sure it's not in a flood zone. We verify it through the proper sources. So I'm not sure all agents do that. I would suggest if you're not, you probably want to do that because you want to disclose that up front. So now, Lee, what is Lee in for in getting this remedied?
Yeah, that's definitely something that should have been disclosed and should have been uncovered through either the disclosure process, the contract process, or the loan process. It's very easy to determine if a property in Jefferson County, for example, is in the flood zone. There's a thing called Logic. You can log on there and it will basically tell you. So for agents and sellers, it's easy to check that. Generally speaking, if your property is in a flood zone, the reason that it's important to you is, number one, because your property could flood, and also because you're probably going to have flood insurance. And flood insurance, depending on what the risk is, can be very costly. So sometimes it's considered a negative to be in a flood zone. Sometimes it's a foot at the bottom, foot of zone at the bottom of a hill that's never going to reach your house, so it's not that big of a deal. But sometimes you're actually at risk of flooding when there's certain rainfall. So I'm a little surprised. I think if the seller knew or had flood insurance previously, then they have a lot of liability there, because that would show that they knew there was a flood zone and that this buyer would have to probably pay for insurance as well. So yeah, sellers out there, you got to disclose anything you know about the property. Yeah,
and let me just add that if you're in a situation where you need flood insurance, don't just, and you may have a relationship, folks, with your insurance guy or lady, and I get that, but you want to shop around because there are actually different rates. I've heard a variety of opinions on this, and just in the back of your mind, just think, if I've got a person who I trust, if you ever need somebody in that level, call me and I will give you her name, and you can reach me at 376-5483. We have a new booklet that tells you what we do from start to finish, and explains a lot about it. And we're not really afraid of you sharing it with other agents because it's really what they should be doing as well. Send me an email, bob@wesellouisville.com. Just say marketing book in the subject line. I'll send it right back out to you. All right, let's go to Josh, a homeowner. Emailed us after finding their dream home before their current home sold. So now they're hearing about bridge loans. Now, they used to be called bridge loans and they kind of went away. Now, apparently, it's coming back, that term, bridge loan. So, Josh, spell it out for us. What is a bridge loan and when does it become financially risky to have a bridge loan?
So a bridge loan is where they will give you and I'm not too super familiar with bridge loans because I've never done one in the 9 years that I've been in the business. But it allows you to keep your current mortgage on your current property. You're not required to sell it prior to closing on the new property. And there's a lot of different bridge products out there. I mean, we've got, there are products out there that will let you buy before you sell. And they don't count the current mortgage payment against you. And then they will, if they don't sell your house within a certain time frame, they will buy it at, I think it's 80% of the appraised value of the property. So, I mean, that's a very, very safe product for the buyer. Now they're still going to have at least, a couple of months where they're making 2 mortgage payments, but they're not in danger of that house not ever selling.
Yeah, the dual mortgage payment is actually the real problem, the risk, because you could be stuck, especially if your primary house doesn't sell. Mm-hmm. But it does allow you to move into your new house, and it's not contingent on selling your house, so the contingency level moves away on that. Anything to add, Lee, on that part of it?
What I'd like to add is that a bridge loan is kind of like a HELOC or a home equity line of credit, which means you're taking credit against your home, and therefore there is a 3-day right of rescission period. So if you close on your bridge loan, you have to wait 3 days until everything is final, and you could rescind it within that 3 days if you get real nervous one day and say, I don't want to have this mortgage on my house. So
yeah, that is a very good point. Yeah. There's a 3-day, remember that sellers, if you accept a contract with a bridge loan in it, there is that 3-day rescission, much like a car loan, right? Isn't that the same basic thing on that? A car loan too, I think. I'm not familiar with car loans that much, so anyway. A reminder that if you want to stay in the loop, sign up for our bi-monthly video updates at wesellouisville.tv. Those are bi-monthly video updates, wesellouisville.tv. I produce those every couple of weeks. All right, we go back over to Lee Harris, Limestone Title and Escrow. Patrick emailed us after learning the same agent may be representing both the buyer and the seller in the transaction. I guess Patrick was using the buyer, and it turns out that the buyer agent was also the seller's agent. And he says something about that immediately felt uncomfortable. So, Lee, he's asking, what are the risks of dual agency, which is what it's technically called in our field, dual agency, or on both sides, and who is really being protected in that situation? Good question on that, Patrick. Lee.
Very good question. Patrick, in general, it does strike some as odd because in most situations, for example, like a law case, you wouldn't have the attorney for the plaintiff and the defendant being the same person. So it feels off. Dual agency is a legal way of representing in Kentucky. Basically the person, rather than being an advocate for the seller or an advocate for the buyer, is now sort of a facilitator. They're in the middle, they're trying to get the transaction done, but they're not as representative of each party as they were before, obviously. And so that's really the only risk, is that you don't have as much advice or whatnot that your buyer agent might have given you had he or she not also represented the seller. If you certainly feel uncomfortable with that, there is another thing called designated agency, which is where the broker of that company, if they practice this policy can appoint someone else to represent you as the buyer, or someone else to represent that seller, and then it's just like they don't work for the same company, and you do have your own representation. So that's something to look into if you feel uncomfortable, because dual agency does require knowledge and consent.
Yeah, but it's legal in the state of Kentucky,
Legal.
and you have to be approved to be a dual agent within your brokerage, correct?
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right, we're out of time. Believe it or not, that went fast. Holy
That went
smokes!
very fast.
Yeah, it did. My thanks to Josh Marlin, who really did a great job getting in there and pinch hitting for Randy Rocky. They do a great job, folks, shopping the loan to get you the best rate. And they're also great because good communication matters when it comes to all aspects of real estate. You can reach Josh at 270-799-3142 to get a hold of him. Also, my thanks to Lee Harris, Limestone Title and Escrow. They do a great job of getting the loan closed while you're sitting there, because details matter in every transaction. And Limestone Title and Escrow and Lee Harris are right there helping to make sure those details are done correctly. You can reach Lee at 502-649-7964. And if you're thinking of selling your home now or in the future, I'd love to help you. No home too big or small. I work in Louisville, surrounding counties, southern Indiana. And for a free, no obligation analysis, I'll come out. It's me. I'll talk as long as you want. We can review the process. Reach me on my cell phone, 376-5483. That's 376-LIVE. Or go to bobsellslouisville.com. We are out of time. See you next Sunday on News Radio 840 WHAS.